It's Friday, July 3. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton gave a COVID-19 update Thursday during a briefing at the ministry's new Kingston offices.
8 new samples have tested positive for COVID-19. That's 8 new samples in the last 24 hours. Total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Jamaica is now 715. The new cases are imported, having arrived recently on flights from North America, from the USA. There are 4 males, 4 females, ranging in ages from 21 to 60 years old. Among them are 6 Jamaicans with addresses of residence in Kingston and St. Andrew, 4, St. Ann 1 and St. Catherine 1. 2 are non-Jamaicans. 5 more patients have recovered from COVID-19 and released from isolation, bringing the total number of recoveries to 560, which in percentage terms means a 78.3% of recovery based on the numbers of positive cases we've had. So that's 78.3%. Of course, the issue here is that we are seeing a fair bit of recovery, which is a positive thing, and that clearly is something that we need to recognize and celebrate our healthcare workers who have provided critical assistance in this regard.
All beaches and rivers in breach of safety protocols established to curtail the local spread of COVID-19 will be closed with immediate effect. That's the word from Minister of Local Government and Community Development, Desmond McKenzie. Mr. McKenzie discussed that and other crowd control issues being monitored by the authorities during this pandemic in Parliament this week. We get more in this report.
The local government minister says non-compliant beach and river operators as well as patrons could face possible prosecution under the Disaster Risk Management Act. Under the Act, persons in violation of the safety protocols can be fined up to $1 million or spend 12 months in prison.
The monitoring which will be done will include the police, and where we observe that the protocols that have been handed out is not being followed, all of these establishments will be closed, and the possibility of prosecution against persons in violation could take place. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management and the Social Development Commission will be surveying the beaches and rivers to ensure that the protocols are being observed.
Minister McKenzie says 250 temporary workers have been employed across the island to bolster the SDC's efforts. Minister McKenzie noted that the decision to shut down beaches and rivers in violation of safety protocols has been taken in response to the high rate of non-compliance that has been observed at these facilities.
Only 22% of the river operators work within the designated hours as prescribed under the order. 46% of beach operators were compliant in this respect. 19% of beaches and rivers had sanitation stations, and 42% had clearly marked areas for vending. Only a meager 4% had signs erected stating the protocols to be followed. Parties and other events were still being held. A football tournament, Mr. Speaker, with over 800 people was held at Elshire Beach last weekend.
The safety protocols were put in place in tandem with the conditional resumption of general access to public beaches and rivers on June 7, following their closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The reopening, which was for an initial period of 14 days, was since extended. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Effective January 1, 2021, all cattle must have ear tags and corresponding passports. So says Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, J.C. Hutchinson. He says the move is a part of an effort to tighten enforcement measures under the National Animal Identification and Traceability System, NAITS, and it will help in the fight against predial larceny, which costs farmers approximately $6 billion annually.
All cattle owners therefore now have 6 months to access the free ear tags and passport for each head of cattle, and we are urging them all to get those tags now. Tag your animals so we can trace them and keep them out of the hands of the predial thieves. Mr. Speaker, over the coming weeks, the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, through its veterinary service divisions, will be engaging the Ministry of Health and Wellness to collaborate with the Public Health Inspectorate in strengthening compliance with the regulations and to have adherence to jointly strengthen our resolve to ensure that no cattle meat is sold without requisite checks and balances in accordance with the requirements of the law.
Hutchinson says that over the coming weeks, the ministry, through its Veterinary Services Division, will be engaging with the Ministry of Health and Wellness in collaboration with the Public Health Inspectorate to strengthen compliance with the regulations.
So consequently, there should be no movement of cattle from any one location to the next without those passports and the ear tags. In addition, no public health inspector is permitted to inspect or certify any meat before an ante-mortem verification is done, which includes the checking of the passport and the matching of ear tags. Mr. Speaker, it's regrettable that there is no universal compliance with these requirements at this time. To date, of the estimated population of 76,000 cattle, approximately 50% or 38,000 have been tagged.
He says the NAITS has the potential to significantly curb predial larceny and was primarily intended for the control of disease, food safety, and the tagging and tracing of animals. Minister Hutchinson made the announcement during his contribution to the 2020-2021 sectoral debate in the House of Representatives this week. Cinema operator Palace Amusement Company is negotiating financial assistance from its bankers to cover fixed expenditures amid a fall-off in revenues at its theaters. The disclosure was made by the company on Wednesday in a market notice posted on the Jamaica Stock Exchange JSE. Palace Amusement on March 14 announced the closure of all its cinemas following social distancing restrictions by the government to control the spread of COVID-19. The loss in revenue, in addition to the challenges cinema operator was facing with its newest cinema, Sunshine Palace in Portmore, St. Catherine, resulted in Palace Amusement posting a loss of $49.2 million for its March quarter against a profit of $43.7 million for the similar quarter in 2019. Core sales declined by 10% to $229 million. Fast food chain Island Grill opened a new branch in downtown Kingston on King Street on Thursday. Former private sector organization of Jamaica president and local government minister Desmond McKenzie were on hand.
Island Grill has had to close 4 stores in other locations. We have had to send home some of our team because of this terrible challenge, and that has caused us pain. We could have shut down this project and saved the burden of additional bank loan funding. But, and this is directed especially at Minister McKenzie, we want to send a signal that Island Grill is committed to Kingston. We are committed to the people of downtown Kingston. We are committed to our country.
The private sector worked very closely with the government in coming up with a lot of the protocols that have been used for the reopening. And I want to again say on behalf of the government, in my own small way, thanks to the private sector for the tremendous support during this period. I am giving the commitment that the people in downtown will preserve this investment. They want this investment.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness welcomed the initiative. He commended the fast food franchise for expanding, especially now when the economy has contracted owing to the effects of COVID-19.
Businesses are closing. People are being laid off. Investors are making decisions to put off their investments. But here is Taylor Lynn going against the wave, taking a risk, opening up her store here, even though she has had to close others, and employing people. And that is what gives me the greatest thrill in being here. When I look and see, where are the workers? They were right here. Oh, they're in the kitchen. They're at the back. That, I felt my heart was warmed by that when I saw the workers in place here.
Public Defender Arlene Harrison Henry is suggesting a minimum period of 6 years for someone to make a report under the sexual harassment bill now being reviewed by a joint select committee of Parliament. Section 25 of the proposed sexual harassment bill sets out that a complaint alleging unlawful conduct must be made within a period of 12 months from the date of the act for it to be considered legitimate by the respective tribunal. Basically, a person who has been sexually harassed will lose the right to make a complaint after that period. Mrs. Harrison Henry says the proposed 12-month limitation is way too short. Mrs. Harrison Henry also argues that a limit should not be placed on the period for children to file complaints of sexual harassment. She suggests that Jamaica could adopt the principle observed in other jurisdictions such as Florida in the United States and Ontario, Canada, where there is no limitation period. We now get an expanded business report with Gabriel Thompson.
The annual hurricane season runs from June 1 to November 30, and with some Caribbean islands reeling from the impact of the coronavirus pandemic, there are concerns about a regional response in the event of a natural disaster. Speaking at last Thursday's 2020 Caribbean Economic Forum under the theme COVID and Economic Policy, Protecting Jobs, Businesses and the Economy, governors of varying Caribbean countries considered mitigating strategies. Barbados Central Bank Governor Cleviston Haynes says in preparation the country has added hurricane clauses to its debt restructuring.
So a lot of the sort of economic strategizing that we have done in recent years is related to preparing for the hurricanes. And Governor Anton mentioned the fact that as part of our debt restructuring, we incorporated the hurricane clauses into our bonds, such that if there is a significant event for us, that we'll be able to sort of suspend payments on both our external and our domestic debt for a period of 2 years. And that would provide for us significant fiscal savings to allow us to be able to rebuild our economy. Because as you would appreciate, the damage that these very strong systems can do to your economy will then put you under pressure as you try to rebuild that economy to get the funds necessary. It's very difficult these days. You get lots of commitments the time when an event occurs, but what you really want is to have those funds available so that you can repair your infrastructure and rebuild lives which are badly affected by these climatic events.
For his part, Bank of Jamaica Governor Richard Biles says the country will suffer a serious blow if ravaged by a hurricane.
Well, I think we're a lot more prepared today than we were for Gilbert. But nonetheless, Cleviston is right. The hurricanes are stronger than ever. And apart from trying to be lucky and dodge them, our usual hurricane preparedness has been put in place. But it would be a serious blow if on top of the pandemic, on top of the reversal in our tourism fortunes, that we were to feel a serious hurricane impact. So we do the best we can with our preparation. Just hope that we don't get a very serious full hit from one of these storms.
In recent years, the region has suffered great loss owing to hurricanes, with islands still recovering from the impact of 2017's Category 5 storm Irma and 2019's Dorian that ravaged the Bahamas. In the meantime, Eastern Caribbean Central Bank Governor Timothy Antoine briefly addressed the implementation of unemployment benefits in regional social security systems.
We believe that the time is ripe for us to look at unemployment insurance, unemployment benefit for social security systems. The reality is that our social security systems are the single most important safety net, social safety net that we have in this region. And the reality is that in the last few years, they have been called upon too often, far too often to our liking, to deal with situations. So whether it is Irma or Maria in 2017, or it's the pandemic now, these social security systems are being called upon to perform. And there is no provision, as is the case in Barbados, as you pointed out, for unemployment benefits. So I have already suggested that once we get past this period, we do have to look seriously at including an unemployment benefit in our social security systems to ensure their viability long term.
The Economic Forum was also attended by the Governor of the Bank of Guyana, Dr. Gobind Ganga. In Thursday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 4,664 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 77 stocks, of which 26 advanced, 41 declined, and 10 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 63 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Pbcj Jamaica, Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited, and Caribbean Cement Company. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services, AMG Packaging and Paper, and Barita Investments Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living, 1834 Investments, and Blue Par Group Limited. Pulse Investments Limited was the volume leader with 9.3 million units, followed by Dermont Trading Company Limited with over 9 million units, and Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with 4.8 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Thursday, July 2 ended trading at $140.62. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $103.63. The pound sterling traded for $180.24, and the euro ended trading at $160.40. Oil fell below $43 a barrel on Friday as a resurgence of coronavirus cases raised concern that fuel demand growth could stall, although crude was still headed for a weekly gain on lower supply and wider signs of economic recovery. Brent crude futures fell 51 cents to $42.63 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures dropped 56 cents to $40.09 a barrel. That's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Jamaica is known for its vibrant music and culture. Alicia Steele gives you a slice of all that with the entertainment report.
Una ready? Cause me ready. Welcome to another episode of PBCJ's Entertainment Recap. I'm your girl, Alicia. And guess what? We're gonna do this. Dancehall entertainer Reagan King, whose given name is Matthew Smith, has been hospitalized after being shot. The incident happened on Sunday, June 28th in Stewie, Westmoreland at around 3:15 p.m. just after the entertainer left a funeral. It is said that Reagan King has since been transferred to a hospital in another parish. Well, with all that said, Get well soon, artists. Shenseea took to her Instagram live to explain to her fans how her mother passed, shutting up the mouths of the people who started the sacrifice rumors.
Just like that. I'm still trying to find out like what's the real cause of her death, but the reason why she ended up in the hospital was because she got a mild stroke and then a heart attack directly after. And I talked to the doctor them and them I say, yo, my mother get a stroke before and she never tell me. Like, all her left side is just weak out. I don't understand, like, she just not talk. She just not talk.
Wow, Wally Chen. And condolence to you and your family again from the PBCJ family. Even our Prime Minister took the time out to tell you condolence. Jamaica is standing with you. Poor people fed up. Yes, self-proclaimed poor people governor, bounty killer, get back a Benz. And he made sure to let the people know that plain and straight, a good over evil. So guess what? Check the post. Fan of the teacher said Vybz Kartel new attorney at law, Isaac Buchanan. An official application has been filed on behalf of incarcerated dancehall star Vybz Kartel and his 3 co-convicts to get leave to go to the Privy Council with the matter. The hearing was before the local court of appeal on Monday, June 29th at 9:30 a.m. The hearing was also done by video link. Make we see how this gonna. Dancehall artist Lisa Hyper has decided to put all her past feuds behind her, especially her spill with dancehall queen Spice.
I'm here today to clear the air for all of my fans, all of my new fans, right? I'm just here to clear the air that I have no beef, nada female entertainer. I appreciate all of you guys because all of you guys contribute to dancehall music. And with that being said, I want to say a big, sincere, humble apology to Grace Spice Hamilton for the past disrespect, and I want to move past this. I want to move past this, and this is why I'm really actually doing this. I want to move past this because the past is the past. You gotta have a past in the future. Don't go stop the foolishness and be the big role model.
Hey you! Thanks for watching PBCJ's Entertainment Recap. I'm your host, Alicia. And remember, always and forever, I gotta thank the Ear Candy Collection because they always give me nice, clean earrings. Follow them now on all socials at the Ear Candy Collection. And remember to follow us also at PBC Jamaica on all socials. And always and forever, big up you!
In regional news, St. Lucia is experiencing an upsurge in crime and violence. We get more in this report.
With the gradual relaxation of the emergency measures came the gradual increase in violent crimes. But over the last week, there has been a further spike in the incidents of crime, gun-related violence, particularly in Castries. At Marigot on Tuesday night, 5 people were shot allegedly in a drive-by shooting incident. On Wednesday morning, a man was found dead at Wapatat. He had been shot. On Wednesday evening, the police were summoned to a scene of a shooting incident at Fuasho. Despite someone from the community having been shot, no one was saying anything to the police. But silence soon became open hostility when the police sought to impose order on a fast becoming chaotic situation. Acting Police Corporal 806 Ann Joseph warns against the practice of members of the public interfering in police carrying out their duties.
If you do want to seek recourse for behavior of a police officer that you believe is unlawful, you make a report to the complaints unit. You make a report at a nearest police station for criminal action. You go through a lawyer for civil action. All of those things are available and they function very well. I want to remind persons that we have a very impressive complaints department. Officers, and in recent times we've provided updates of police officers who have been fired for not conducting themselves in a professional manner. This has happened, I believe, a few months ago. We gave updates where up to 4 officers were fired by the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Severin Moshiri, for not behaving in a manner that is befitting of a police officer. There are police officers on a regular basis, their fines instituted, salaries deducted up to 10 days pay, and if you know police officers, 10 days pay is about half-hour pay. It's deducted, we have demotions, all of those things are readily available and they actually happen.
The violence was not confined to firearms. This man was caught on video beating up on a female believed to be his partner. All this in the full view of the public. He later seemed contrite and pleaded for forgiveness.
I said, no, I can't do it. I said, please forgive me. I said, yes, bro. I'm working for what I do. I said, please forgive me. Please, I beg you.
The COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in massive job losses and a significant downturn in economic activity. Now, increased levels of violence are becoming another feature of these trying times. Stanley Lucian for the HTS News Force.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has warned citizens against demanding revenge in the wake of protests sparked by the killing of 3 men by police in Morvant on the weekend. At a media conference on Thursday afternoon, Prime Minister Rowley outlined the difference between justice and revenge. Ian Watson has that story.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says justice involves the use of evidence that will determine who is responsible for the shooting on the weekend, noting that the Police Complaints Authority has a duty to investigate police-involved killings. The Prime Minister said there is a bigger problem that must be addressed, that of our young people obtaining firearms for various reasons.
I'm appealing to the young people of this country and saying to them, the young and the not so young, when you take up arms for whatever reason, you are automatically putting yourselves in harm's way with respect to law enforcement.
The Prime Minister also said that what appeared to have been spontaneous events and sporadic fires in the streets were organized.
So for those who have a hand in organizing this, what in effect they're contributing to this chronic situation is a worsening of an already bad situation. And to them, we say, run your run. Those persons I'm talking about there, some of them are 2x4 politicians, some of them are hardened criminals for whom crime does pay.
Dr. Rowley also warned those who may think they are in a fight with the police.
We say to them in the national community, that is a war that you will not win, and that is a war that you should not declare.
The Prime Minister announced the establishment of a team charged with finding solutions to the unrest in what he called special areas with special interests. That team will be led by psychologist Anthony Watkins. Ian Wason, TTT News.
Brigadier Godfrey Bess on Wednesday officially assumed command of the Guyana Defense Force, and in his initial remarks to the media, he made it clear that the GDF will only offer its support to democratically elected governments.
The question was put to the new Chief of Staff Acting, Brigadier Godfrey Bess, about the GDF's position on democracy in the hemisphere And in response, he reminded that the GDF has always been subordinate to civil societies and maintains a supportive role to civil authorities. He explained that the Army, in its subordinate role to civil society, also relies on legal advice and takes legal instructions.
The Defense Force is always subordinate to civil authorities, and we do have a subordinate role and supportive role to civil authorities. We trained to support the democratic elected government of the day based on our constitution, and that we will continue to do. Our relationship with the civil authorities always subordinate, and we take instructions, legal instructions.
When pressed further on his new role as Army Chief and the GDF's support for any domestic political party that forms the government but was not democratically elected, Brigadier Bess said that the GDF is a professional organization and will stick to the Constitution of Guyana. His comments come amid Guyana's ongoing election impasse, where after 4 months, Guyanese are still awaiting a declaration of the winner from the March 2, 2020 elections. The new Army Chief received his promotion to Brigadier and instrument appointing him as Chief of Staff from President and Head of the Defense Board, David Granger, at State House on Wednesday. He replaces Brigadier Patrick West, who has already proceeded on pre-retirement leave and was notably absent from Wednesday's ceremonial activity. Brigadier West's leaves come to an end in March 2021. Brigadier Best said he accepts the appointment with energy and intends to execute his duties as he is mandated by the law to do. He talked up training for ranks and the protection of the country's patrimony and borders amid anticipation that there will be challenges.
And what do we do? What do we do when resources are minimal? Our training that we receive helps us to create, I would say, opportunities to fight against those challenges. So training in Guyana Defense Force, we take it seriously, and it helps us in these times of challenges.
Meanwhile, President David Granger called on the new Chief of Staff to collaborate and work with the General Staff to ensure that the transformation that has begun in the GDF continues to finality. He impressed on him the qualities of leadership and management and said those qualities cannot be mandated by law. The President said the government intends to ensure that the succession planning is maintained and offered his support and that of the Defense Board to the new Army Chief. The President also wished Brigadier Patrick West a happy retirement. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom.
In sports, Cricket West Indies President Ricky Skerritt says coach Phil Simmons' job is under no threat, following calls for him to be sacked after he left the team's biosecure environment in England to attend his father-in-law's funeral on Friday. Skerritt, who reappointed Simmons, says the coach advised them of his engagement well in advance and that proper protocols were followed to have him reintegrated. Skerritt says the former batsman has nothing to worry about. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching.